The one here, it's in the middle of the island. I see no reason to have it, but if I have to, I will.
I rent, so that for me it's not an issue. But living well north of Sunrise Highway, it would have to be a heck of a flood.
Welcome back to Long Island Talks here on News 12 Long Island. Much of the island's coastline has always been susceptible to flooding. Well, now a new map by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, shows who will and who will not need flood insurance. Joining me tonight to answer some of your questions, Dennis A. Miller, a flood insurance specialist from Long Beach, awarded the 2008 FEMA Flood Insurance Agent of the Year. So nobody knows more about this stuff, flood insurance around Long Island, than Dennis does. First of all, just a couple of things I want to address before we talk about pricing, Dennis. Barry from Long Beach wants to know, what about condos? Are they only talking about houses?
Oh, no. Condominiums have a master policy, though. And the master policy is primary before the unit owner. So condominium flood zones are changing. Most of the condos are in flood zones already. They're in the bad flood zones. They're in those VE flood zones if they're along Broadway and along Beach Street, all along there. But the flood zone is a flood zone. You can be changing.
So you talk, I guess, with your condominium
yes, when your bank asks you for something, they ask for the bank for the mortgage policy from the condominium.
Okay, so it's not just about houses; it's also about condos. And Frank from Holtzville was talking about, renter, and we heard the other woman say, "I'm a renter." Renters can get flood insurance too, can't they?
Absolutely, except basement renters, which can't get flood insurance. A renter can certainly buy a contents policy, and it's not expensive.
Okay, I understand that. Flood insurance you can get through your regular agent.
Independent agent like
because it's set. The prices for flood insurance are set. You don't get a different deal based on where you go. You can also get it through FEMA directly.
Yeah, they don't encourage that any longer. They want you to write it indirectly. Yeah, the prices are set in that Zone X that we're talking about. You can buy a policy now, a little policy, and what I'm encouraging people to do. Buy a little policy for $119. We'll worry about it next year. For the whole year. $148. The maximum premium, $388 for the year.
How big of a house does that cover?
It does $250,000 on the building, $100,000 on the contents.
All right, so it covers
It's going to change next year, but let's worry about that next year. Buy a policy prior to map revision that will grandfather the flood zone. That's what you have to do.
So that's what the government is allowing right now. They're allowing you to get in on the lower price before the new flood maps come out.
I can't tell you how many people in the AE zone have called me and said, "Can I get that low rate?" And no, you can't. I'm sorry.
So explain to us again. X zone is what?
X zone, 500-year flood zone. AE zone.
It floods once every 500 years?
That's what they say. It's the least likely. It's the least likely to flood. However, the facts show that more floods occur in the Zone X than any other flood zone.
All right, AE zone.
A 100-year flood zone. That's the zone where the banks will require flood insurance, and that's what's happening here. That's why you want to purchase a policy prior to map revision, because you're going to get a letter in January saying, "Hey, you're in a flood zone. We want flood insurance."
And in January, it's going to cost you more.
It's going to cost $2,000 as opposed to $388 right now.
What a difference.
What a difference. It's a no-brainer.
Okay, and what's the really letters? What's the big letters you don't want to see?
The VE flood zones. A lot on the ocean are in Victor Edward. Most people won't see that. There aren't too many houses. Some houses out in Fire Island are in there, the ones that are right on the ocean. That's a velocity flood zone that not many people will see.
But you know you're in a bad flood zone when you're in those areas.
Yes, you do.
So that should be no surprise to you whatsoever.
Absolutely right.
And you better already have flood insurance if you're there. Let's go to Island Park. Madeline's got a question. Welcome, Madeline.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I've had flood insurance for the last 5 years, and my policy has cost me $345, and which was pretty reasonable in my estimation. I just got my new policy, and it's effective as of September 12th, and I understand these maps come into effect the 11th. My rate has gone from $345 to $1,385. Do I have any recourse in trying to get this changed? I'm not seeming to get any answers from either my agent or even from Nassau County Emergency Management. No one could seem to direct me. But I think that's a tremendous jump, for having flood insurance for the last 5 years.
Definitely.
Here's my answer. First of all, they're giving you a quote for both flood and for building and contents. So you don't need all that $100,000 in contents. So you can certainly lower that down now. That's amazing, September 12th. You're the first one to hit. You probably got a letter prior to that also. You're in Island Park. You should call me. I have a couple of ideas from you. You really should.
Well, okay, great. Well, thanks so much.
Madeline, we'll put Dennis's
it.
contact information on our website, news12.com, okay?
Okay, wonderful. Thanks
All right,
very
you
much.
Call
You're
and
welcome,
get some,
Madeline.
I can see the wheels.
That's September 12th. It's so close. She's the first one that she really got hit very hard.
Well, are they doing that intentionally to just get more money out of her?
September 11th is the date of change, and on September 12th, they've already quoted. They're already running it. But that quote is too high. It's quoting the $250 on the building and $100,000 on the contents, and you don't need all that coverage in an AE zone. Especially if you have a basement, what would you need $100,000 in contents for when contents in a basement isn't covered?
So that's what you were telling me before we went to break, is that certain insurance agents can help you with certain things, even though the rate is fixed for everybody.
Of course, nobody knows about LOMAs. We help people with LOMAs all the time. Elevation certificates, different deductibles. There are, I don't like to use the word tricks, but there are a lot of knowledgeable things that you could really help that I learned at the flood conferences that I go to that really help people save money.
This is going to hold for how long, these maps?
20 years.
20 years?
You hope.
Oh, okay. So FEMA can do this at will? Is that the way it works?
Apparently they can, yes. Apparently they can.
So there's no designated set time?
No, the last one was April 2nd, 1997, where a lot of people went in, a lot of people went out. Long Beach got affected the most hit hard right then, and there hasn't been one since.
All right, so basically what Dennis's advice right now is if you're in the not the X zone, but you're in the A,
or if you're in the X going into the AE,
purchase
zone, a flood policy
before September 11th.
$119, $148. Buy it. Don't think about it for a year. We'll talk about it in a year. It's the truth. Right now, don't gamble.
You're always full of great information for us, Dennis.
I'm really
Thank you
hard.
so much. And I bet you we'll be talking to you sometime in September.
Thanks, Lee.
For more information on tonight's show, more information on Dennis, and also on the changes that FEMA has made, visit our website at news12.com. Click on numbers and links. You're watching Long Island Talks here on News 12 Long Island.